July the 28th, 2024. Guys, you're looking at images from our sun. On the left, there's two CMEs that left it yesterday. On the right is the corresponding CME tracker. We're going to take a closer look at it. We actually have more events than this approaching our planet. But if we bring this up, you see we're going to be dealing with early Tuesday morning on this time, around 1 to 2 a.m., because we are dealing with UTC time. Check at the top up there. It started on the 27th. Notice there's two CMEs that are, and one's going to overtake the other one. Now, the green line at the top on the right represents the Earth. The top line is how thick and dense that cloud is. The bottom line in green is radial velocity, which is our solar wind speed. Now, let me back this up to the start. We'll go back to about 0700 hours. We'll start seeing the impact here on our planet right there. Top line green, and bottom line green also. And that at 0800 hours to 0700, you're dealing with 2 a.m. Tuesday morning on the 30th, just a couple of hours after midnight tomorrow night. And that's what we'll be dealing with this CME. It's not that strong, but the impact could be felt both physically and possibly on our tectonic plates, because there's going to be rapid firing coming back. It's just like the hurricane season is ramping up. Now, today we had what they're calling an M9.9. It actually is touching the line of the X flare. Now, it has left the sun at 943 kilometers per second. And I'll put the chart on the bottom. That equates to over 2 million miles per hour. Check that out. That's muzzle velocity, so we're going to see that slow down some. But again, these things are very fast. It says just about as close to an X flare as you can get. Notice that chart at the right there. An M9.9 event was detected around AR 3766 at 1:57 on July 28th. That's UTC time. A Type 2 radio emission was estimated at a velocity of 943 kilometers per second. A wave of plasma is visible, meaning an Earth-directed coronal mass ejection will be possible with this event. This is not the one we just tracked. They have not put a tracker on this particular event as I speak. Now, it may be up there before long. It says the M9.9 solar flare was around 3766, did produce a fairly slow-moving halo CME. That's slower than the one we just talked about, which is very fast. At least one other CME from the flurry of eruptions the past few days is also expected to pass our planet and is predicted to contribute to moderate G2 geomagnetic storms. In the last video about this, I put a link that shows the physical effects on people from this. Again, you've got you're going to have blackouts and radio blackouts in your upper atmosphere. You're going to have tectonic pressure. All of that volcanic eruptions can intensify because of the heat. Notice these sunspots, AR 3765 and 3762 in red. There are multiple configurations of magnetic fields. Those are the most dangerous, but everything except one is growing. And we're going to look at a picture of that. This was at 1:45 UTC this morning on July 28th. This is what they call the sunspot summary. But they're all growing. Now, and here's how they're clustered up right there. See this? And that's what we're dealing with. You got 3765, 66, and 67 in that cluster. Then to the right, 68 and 3762. So, and all of these are becoming active. Now, this is basically the equator of the sun, that line. It's not exactly level, so excuse that. But the top half is fairly clear. You got 3769 in the corner and 3763 kind of on the equator, but most of it's moving to the south. That's an indicator of a magnetic flip of the sun, not a physical flip, but its poles do this about 11.8 years. Now, this is the flares that we're going to be dealing with, combination of both of those events. Here, the 26 started it there. Notice bottom timestamp we're about to go on the 27th. We'll pause it on these flares. Again, this magnetic flip does indicate somewhat that this solar cycle is changing, and they last about the same amount of time, 11.8 years or so. But here you've got, starting on the 26th, actually, it's on the 27th now, it goes to the 28th. And on the 28th today, we've had 2 strong flares, and that's what's not tracked yet. Right there at 1:55 a.m. this morning, UTC time again, and then watch to the right side. Boom, right there. That was what they're calling a 9.9. Again, it touched the line, so I don't know what you got to do to become an X flare, but they're not saying it was. But I'll tell you what happened the other day. We had an X13 or 14 on the backside. And the way we know that, and here again is that last flare today, the way we know it is we have what's called the SOL satellite now on the other side of the sun. And it picks up the energy burst. Cannibal CME alert. At least 2 CMEs are headed for Earth following a series of M-class solar flares on the 27th. Then at the bottom, it talks about Sunspot complex 3765 through 67 is turning toward Earth and is crackling with flares. That's what we're seeing. Solar wind speed, currently, it's down from going through a CME that we went through earlier that was a G1 magnetic storm. At the top, solar density really collapsed during that time, but it's starting to rise. The solar wind speed now, at the end here, we're around 400 kilometers per second. That's a little above the average of around 320. But imagine the CME that we just saw, that 9.9, coming in. We don't know what that's modeled at yet, but very fast. Here is from the, it's called the Styx light curve, X14. Notice that, July 23rd. M9 right there. Now, again, that's a backside flare, but this sunspot is turning towards us. It will be coming around the left side of the sun very soon. They're saying it's the biggest flare of this current solar cycle 25, and it just exploded from the far side of the sun. X-ray detectors on Europe's solar orbiter, which again, SOL, for the sun, spacecraft registered at the next 14. Now, on the back side, guys, we've seen a 12 and a 10. The strongest on the Earth side has been an X.89. Remember that we reported, and it's detected at least 3 larger far side explosions. The X14 was indeed a major event. It hurled a massive CME into space, shown here on the coronagraph movie, and that was in the blue one, and from the SOHO observatories. The CME sprayed energetic particles all over the solar system. Earth itself was hit hard by protons in the 100 mega electron volt range. And remember the radio blackouts. But this is a big one, a 360-degree event. And it said this is something we call an energetic storm particle event. And that European satellite on the backside that registered that strong flare, it caught it, said it was squarely in the crosshairs of the CME, and on July 24th it experienced a direct hit. In a matter of minutes, particle counts jumped almost 1,000-fold as the spacecraft was peppered by a hailstorm of these energetic ions and electrons. And they go on to mention 1989, when what they call this ESP event caused the Great Quebec Blackout. Now, we see these a lot in these typical events, especially the whole halo event that you see going all around the sun. But that one was not Earth-facing. Now let's take a look at the Park Fire, one of the largest ever. It's the largest on the planet right now, and it's like top 7 or 8th in California's history. Backing out on it, look how it's covered across into the northwestern sections of Nevada and up all the way to Canada. Maybe this front will move in on you. It's not into California yet, but it is coming. But look at the higher clouds in the top left corner. That's going to push moisture that way. Again, strongest fire on the planet right now, 5,000 acres an hour. You got moisture still pulling up to the center of the country. And they're watching this East Coast storm there for possible tropical development, maybe a tropical depression. This is the one that we're watching now, 40% chance of development. But there's one coming off the coast of Africa that I'm really concerned about. It's much larger. And notice that we've got 3 systems here. The one they're watching in the front, this one in the back that I'm very concerned about. But the one in the center is pushing that Saharan sand layer up. See that right there? And that's kind of a blocking effect, getting the sand out of the way for these two storm systems. Again, this one is predicted to move right into this area on August the 4th and the 5th. That's not very far away, is it, guys? So we're going to have to watch it, but again, we'll put it back into motion, and you can see where the Saharan sand layer is above the one that's coming off the coast of Africa and pushing it up. Now let's look at it. Here's, again, storm number 1 on the left side, and the storm in the middle, pushing up the Saharan sand and absorbing some of that dust layer, which deletes a lot of hurricanes out because the moisture's gone. But the one coming off the African coast is strong, but look at the one behind it. We're getting into August. Remember, these are the deadly storms, especially when we get near the end of August. But it looks like we're a few weeks ahead of everything. The one on the left is the one 40% chance. The one in the center, again, is what I'm calling the blocking back. And then we have the two on the left. I'm sure these will get updated very quickly if they haven't already. But the one on the far left, again, we're going to have to pay attention to it first. And let's take a look at some of the water vapor images of this area. And you can see what I'm talking about as far as not only drier areas, but the Saharan sand layer right there. And that's dry air, but that sand layer is a part of that, especially the higher yellow area. But that center storm, again, pushing it up out of the way and clearing the path for what may be two very dangerous storms coming behind it. But the one in front, they're saying it has a very good chance of development. Now notice in California, Oregon, you're starting to get some of that much needed moisture out of there. Part fire is, I think it's less than 20% control right now at burning that fast. You could see it from space. Here's where your moisture is coming up across our state and right up through the center of the country. See that? Then again, the one on the left, they're kind of watching for that one for all our friends in the Northeast. Or maybe maybe tropical depression bringing in extra rain. You may need it. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But it is predicted in the Canadian model, I think it is, to change. Here we are dealing with now 40% chance of development. Now, I recorded this a little earlier than what I'm putting the sound on it. So that may have went up, but I'm going to check it right away, and I'll put it in the comments. But 40% chance, and it's talking about environmental conditions are forecast to become conducive for some development in a day or two, and a tropical depression could form around midweek while the system is near or over the northern Leeward Islands. We're going to look at that Canadian model also and let you see what they think about it. Again, your other two storms are not being mentioned as of this earlier update. Now, the Canadian model, one of the two we watched the most. Here's one storm right there on August the 5th. Notice it's in the Gulf of Mexico. And it actually starts to enter. We'll back it up. Here we're on the 4th. Now, that's not very far away at all. And it got one that's moving out into the Pacific Ocean there. But you got high pressure over the Atlantic. Notice that. So that's going to be one of the things the two back storms are going to be dealing with. But by the end of the 6th, this thing is ashore somewhere in Louisiana or our state of Mississippi. We know that will change, but this is what we're dealing with that front storm, guys. So we're watching it. You watch it. There will be more updates on the hurricanes. You know how to do that on this channel. Just keep your eyes open and for the 4th and the 5th. Make sure your plans are coordinated with the reports if you're going to the beach or anything like that. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.